I think what you should know from both these gentlemen is Jamell Johnson is promising to put pause on Jefferson, and Jefferson is promising to give you your money's worth for movement. And you know, it's weird because sometimes you go into like this state when you're in jiu-jitsu and it feels like that's probably where Jamell is. Even though it's combat jiu-jitsu to him, it's kind of like another day at the office, but it's a takedown for Jefferson Batista here. And oh, they now realize
strikes
slaps
are in
are
play.
there.
Yeah, as soon as one opponent's grounded, slaps are in play. That's a nice double leg, but we might see a triangle attempt here.
Yep.
Jamell Johnson has, if he can pop his right foot out, he'll be looking to lock a triangle, but right now his right foot's stuck in that butterfly.
You know, it's tricky to get out here, but you can loosen it up with some strikes, and it's tough because that just might have given the, oh yeah, I mean, you can hit when you are in guard. That is essentially there, and you're seeing the first few strikes come in the way of Jefferson Batista, who may utilize this to pass if he gets the opportunity, but instead opting for pressure first, perhaps slaps later.
I think one of the keys here for Jefferson is if he hopes to avoid those slaps and also negate the power that they're bringing, he's got to stay really connected with the pressure. Anytime he backs out, it feels like it relieves the pressure for a moment, but then because he comes back in that midway point, he's getting striked again. So you want to either be really close or really far. So if you keep that really strong pressure, and he's doing a great job making that adjustment, staying really tight and nice and heavy. But see, again, that mid-range is where you're going to get popped.
Yep. And the hard part here is the minute you stand up, you really can't strike anymore. So as a result, you kind of get these last shots in, and it looked like they were almost going to stand right back up. But now, you're looking at this and wondering, for Jefferson Batista, these passes have been pretty close, but a couple little choice moments by Jamell Johnson allowed him to get those slaps that prevented the pass, and now just a excellent secure into the side control by Jefferson Batista, who can concentrate on working to get this Darce here, and he's locking it up pretty nicely. I'm not sure exactly how tight he has it. He opts to go to try to chase the back, doesn't get it, and this is where I think things are very interesting for Jamell Johnson. He has an excellent re-guard ability, so you really want to try to shut that down as much as possible with somebody, even if they have the ability to slap back. If you can contain them, this is a very good place to be if you are in combat jiu-jitsu. Now pinning the leg, opting to maybe almost go to what looked like for a split second a cradle, allowing Jamell to get back up, and that's probably something you don't want to necessarily do it.
Interesting approach to be striking from the bottom. He did look like, whoa, we see some striking back there from Jefferson, and that allowed him.
That'll get you a pass sometimes.
Yeah, I think when you see the striking from the top like that and your opponent lays flat, it takes them from a seated guard to a supine, but they drop their legs because they're not really entering any sort of guard, and the pass is right there, and now it's kind of turning into an avalanche where Jefferson's been able to get to full mount.
And you know what's interesting? You're looking over at Jefferson Batista, who's now very happy with this head and arm choke. He's trying to set up here, but almost maybe was attacking the arm there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's looking for the head and arm choke or maybe a smother, because for the head and arm choke, he's quite a bit high and not under the chin, right, where you would want to be to really get connected to the carotid arteries. But Jamell, with some big extension, he has to be careful with his arms, but a lot of times you'll see people risk their arm by driving up like that in the armpit, because they feel like they can lift the hips enough, maybe bring their feet in front, like he might be trying to lock his feet in front of the belly, or give the back by rotating through.
Speaking of giving the back right here, he's now basically getting to flatten him out, but you see Jamell on the bottom turning, and this is a very not fun zone, because if Jefferson so wishes to unload some slaps, this is a great place for him to do so. And you're seeing underneath, Jamell's trying to throw a few paws from underneath.
Wow.
Again, trying to contain this arm, even if it's not a smother. I mean, he's definitely utilizing this very strong position that just maintains the control for him. And maybe that might be it, because if you can wrap up that arm, that does give you an opportunity to hit it uncontested. But yeah, he's trying to get underneath. It's just easier said than done against that very, very posted up Jamell Johnson. This might be kind of where we're in the middle of the match. You know, now that's a much more successful opportunity to go to that head and arm. He's kind of sinking it up a little bit more. We'll see if he's able to finish from mount. Jamell is turning.
It's hard to finish here because, again, Jefferson is so far over the head.
Yeah.
He may get the smother. I'm not saying you can't finish here, but it's not quite a blood choke where you're on the carotid arteries on both sides because he's bringing the arm over the head and then he's bringing his chest over the face. Even here, he may get it, but you can see Jamell still has quite a bit of movement. He's not really freaking out or trying to answer the phone yet because it's very uncomfortable, but it's not going to shut the blood off, right? So he may roll all the way over to his knees if he can.
And sometimes this gives you the opportunity to take the back, but looks like he's going to go right back on over to mount. And
It's one of the things with the arm triangle. There's a lot to be said for taking your time and slowing down and really getting the shoulder under the chin before you go for the finish. But if it's combat jiu-jitsu, you could also just posture up and strike. So there's that too.
Well, we should also remind people that we are executing some new rules here. So we don't go into overtime that people may be used to. We're actually going to a striking-based overtime where there may be no submissions being utilized here, and that's going to be an interesting dynamic to see. You know, we here at Subversiv Fight Club, we want to give the fighters an opportunity to not let overtime be that factor that saves you. So in this particular rule set that we potentially could see here, you may see these gentlemen throw more strikes than this, and I have to say it's kind of smart for Jefferson to realize he's winning the positional battle, but that you may want to give some damage to your opponent so that overtime, maybe just a little bit easier. I mean, definitely unloading here. It's possible to get a finish via slaps if Jamell doesn't respond back, but Jamell just throws up a couple of these strikes back up on him, and now the referees are making sure to contain him, and I'm hoping that some of these kids don't take any of these strays that are happening.
You know, for a second there, it was hard to say if any of those shots were connecting because Jamell's hands were up and they had enough involvement. But I think some of those last ones really did connect pretty hard.
I think you're right. Well, I think we're about to see the first implementation of the
new overtime,
Subversiv Fight Club overtime. So very interested to see how this one plays out. Both these gentlemen back up on their feet. And we'll see if it kind of locks in where this is where we start. Now, just to keep in mind, part of the submission overtime is the fact that there is going to be an implementation of a shot clock. So they have like 10 seconds to make an effort to try and get a takedown here. And if they don't get a takedown, we then go into a get down rule. So you're seeing all the referees kind of conferring together, kind of getting their information and gathering it as we prepare for the next portion of this match. Wait. Now seeing this take place, and we didn't need a shot clock. Shot clock be damned. These gentlemen are just going straight into the overtime procedures where now slaps are going to be allowed now that they are on the ground. So from here, you are seeing this play out very similar to how their match went on. You're seeing an aggressive re-guard here by Jamell, but Jefferson does look like he is past the legs, but the knees are trying to come up to prevent and save Jamell Johnson, but nothing doing now. Firmly in place, side control. Jefferson Batista going right back to mount and probably going to start unloading here because submissions do not necessarily work. So yeah, this could be a finish here if he does not get any kind of movement. Jamell working for any kind of fight back here to show because the referees will stop it if he is taking too much damage.
One of the things with Jamell is that I think he has a better chance staying in the mounted position because, oh, you know what? I think Jefferson's going for a submission. There may take some time to adjust to this new rule set. We're going to check in with our referees after this match, of course.
Well,
but it looks like time's about to expire.
You know, the weird part is you can use the position for control. It's
can't
just
finish.
Not necessarily a finish. And we did see him not necessarily finish during regulation. So maybe he recognized, maybe I'm not going to finish him here, but I will have control of his movements. And a very interesting dynamic. So now the referees are going to look at the entire match and determine who was more aggressive, who was more in control. And I do feel like we very well may see a person who was more in the mount position take home the win, but let's now get that decision from our analysis.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, going into an overtime in a great match. Let's hear it one more time for these two fighters. Your referee in charge has made the decision. He is your winner in overtime. Jefferson Batista. And let's hear it again for Jamell Johnson.